We are live. Welcome to the RedBlue Pod number 76. As everyone can tell from the sound of my voice and the absence of my cam, I'm sick. Just physically, but that's enough to put me down a bit. Anyhow, outside of that, I'm fine. What about you, Gray? How are you?
I'm doing great, man. It's a Tuesday. Good times. I'm here. I watched some movies. Yeah, podcast.
Hell yeah, that's what we want to hear. Did you kept track? Did you kept watching five of the topics as usual, or this week it's more four than five?
I think we're on six now.
Oh,
So yeah, I think there's only a couple. If I'm stalling, I know I saw Ash vs. Evil Dead, but there were a couple other ones on there.
Dark Matter and Doom Patrol.
Yeah, I did not see those two, but I saw The Color Purple, Tokyo Drift, Fast and Furious, Ghostbusters 2016, and Halloween Kills. So yeah, I guess I'm at six. A
Oh,
little bit better than average. So
that's
yeah, but we're gonna
amazing.
do a speed run, so this is gonna be even better. I can talk about six, but really fast.
That's really good news. You're amazing, bro. Anyhow, Adrate, what about you? How are you?
I'm pretty good. I got off early enough to make this live stream.
You had a
Yeah, I
robot
know
voice.
quite a bit on the topics.
Robo voice.
Dang
Robo
it. Yeah,
voice.
my internet's not very good. I'm really hoping that my internet can last me as long as possible. Here, maybe I got off work early enough for this. That clear.
Well, this is good news that you got off early. That's amazing. I'm glad to see you again. I think that's your second appearance with us. Welcome among us again. And Cole, what about you? How are you today?
Uh, Better, I'll say. Last few weeks has been a bit rough, but the last few days has been a lot better. And I'll say that.
Well, I'm glad you got slightly better. I hope it keeps track of that and you just keep improving on that. And yeah, I'm glad to have you on, like everyone. That's amazing. We are in for a great adventure. And I think we can start with the first topic, which is the masterpiece that everyone liked it so much, the best movie ever made, uh, Halloween Kills, or the whatever Halloween that was on the topic. I lost track of the titles. Who wants to go first on that? Wow, I see
About
the
which
excitement.
about which topic?
Halloween Kills. I see the
Oh,
excitement.
um, yeah. Well, this is the topic that I'll probably have. I didn't write down anything for this week, but this is probably the one that I'll say the most about. Just so I'll quickly
Then
try
yeah,
to.
you should definitely start, man.
Yes. Okay. This is hilarious. So after a decent start to this new trilogy with the first one, they made these two abominations, and while I think ends while more creative to an extent is a worse film and worse executed. This is the most laughable of the three. It is just God. Like again, this is why like Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 and 2 are not like two of the worst because there's so many worse ones than these. I would say, and the next one we'll cover next week is just worse. Like this is almost every area this film fails. Like the acting is fucking and writing is the most laughable shit ever, especially from like Jamie Lee Curtis and the guy trying to play that fucking kid from the original. And just so much bad writing, evil ties tonight, fucking laughable shit. Um, the direction is horrendous, and with the close-ups, the guy just and the shaky cam just did not know how to film any of this for shit. But it's almost like fucking David Gordon Green isn't a great director. Imagine that. The color palette and cinematography is ugly as fuck. The lighting is shit. The kills are just fucking laughable. They aren't even like done cool. They're just laughable. Like they hyped this movie up and called it kills because it's the most kills of any Halloween film, but it's the most laughable fucking scenes ever. It's not scary or entertaining at all. It's just makes me fucking face palm. And it
Damn.
has the dumbest character choices of all time. Like nothing in this film makes any fucking sense at all with the story, and it's the most like cliche slasher route ever. This is like something I would imagine seeing like in a 70s fucking shitty low budget slasher film, not something in fucking 2021 or whenever this fucking film came out in. Just fucking horrendous. Pretty
Stop
much
lying! It's a masterpiece, bro.
No,
But keep
pretty
going.
much every character choice. Like seriously, like fucking. Okay. Like that fucking. Why? I'm not even gonna. There's too much to like go into of like the stupidity in this. But also they tried doing so many things with like emotions with characters, even though they did nothing in the first or this film to make us give a fuck. Like the scene in the very beginning of this film, like why do we care? It did nothing to make us care that like what happened there. But again, I'm just fucking hospital scene him with that like mentally ill guy was fucking hilarious as fuck. It was such a poor attempt at like what they were trying to do, and then that line, "Oh, he's making us evil, turn on us," just like fuck off. And then like there's too much to go into. I'm gonna like be here forever, so I'm just gonna like get straight to the climax. Okay, to not just kill him off right there, fucking hilarious. But also that fucking bitch. Okay, you see a ghost, all right, or some sighting that looks like Michael Myers or some shit in Michael Myers' house, and you walk up into in there.
Well, I mean, she did just set him up for, a mob beating and stabbed him in the back. So you would think that he's not necessarily supernatural. I can kind of understand it.
Why would you do that? That was the funniest shit. Oh my god! And also that line of him in the hospital, like, now at least we know he isn't human. It's like,
You didn't know that. What the fuck?
It's like, no, we don't. You two knew that, I guess, but you never fucking told your daughter or anything before they went to fucking fight the thing. Like, what? You knew the thing wasn't human all along, and you didn't tell them before they went to go fucking die. Are you fucking? What the fuck? This fucking film. Holy fuck.
It's simple. Just rip off his arm and legs. You won't be able to move or slash you.
Holy fuck. Like, what did I fucking watch? And just all the fucking attempts at being fucking nostalgic. Shut up. Jesus Christ. It's just a terrible film. Like, I'm not going into like specific detail or explaining my points well because I didn't write anything down, but you get what I mean. This was just fucking horrendous. And the only things, again, I can really give this film credit for is like, certain things with like the music, and I guess like the actor who plays Michael Myers, he's really good, and with his movement, so I'll give credit there too. And there were certain scenes that kind of work, but that's about it. Like, this was just embarrassing.
Like the easiest role.
Yeah, like I think Ends is worse, and I can't wait for you to watch that too, because that's also just fucking hilarious with how terrible it is, and the execution of everything, and some of the shit and the ideas they come up with will just make your fucking jaw drop, especially for a fucking finale film in a trilogy. Like, why are they even doing this? What the fuck? So it will just blow your fucking mind, but.
Because they can, bro. Don't say too far.
Jesus, but this is the most embarrassing out of the three, though. Just everything they do. It's not like the worst made, but holy fuck. It's the most cringe. Anyway, so somebody else can go now.
That's funny.
So, Grape, you know about that movie, and what did you think of any other Halloween movie, or like, what's your experience with the Halloween franchise? Grape?
Me?
You speak? Yeah. Grape.
Oh, sorry. I don't understand slasher movies. I mean, I understood. I liked the first original Halloween, but I don't. Halloween especially, I don't get the appeal. In fact, I grew up in a household that openly made fun of slasher movies. I could never take them seriously. I could never like get into them
Well,
because
there's a lot of good ones. I think you might have just like watched a lot of bad ones because there are a lot of bad ones. But I also think that's some of the charm, though. Some of the charm is to kind of mock them as well or
it's the
laugh at them
campiness.
if they are, how do you say, self-aware of themselves.
Yeah, but like Halloween in particular, I mean, I won't go into the tangent of the concept itself. It's just a little funny. Like, is he supernatural? Is he not? He's walking, they're running, and he still catches up. Because they're tripping over everything. Yeah, I just feel like, and yeah, maybe I haven't seen enough good slashers, or they're just not really for me. But I just feel like every slasher movie gets worse with every sequel, and they only work when they lean more into the campiness and the self-awareness. When they're trying to take themselves seriously is when it gets especially stupid, and that's what I get from this sequel Halloween trilogy. It's kind of cool that they brought, they're doing the nostalgia thing where they're bringing back old actors, and trying to like kind of create a conclusion while also bringing in a new generation. But it just sounds really stupid. The 2018 Halloween sounded like it was okay. It was like trying to take a new modern spin on the character and trying to keep things like ambiguous, but with characters like Michael Myers, where you're wondering the whole time, is he like supernatural or is he just like insane? Like he shrugs off everything just because he's crazy. He doesn't even think about it. But I think that it's supposed to be left ambiguous. If the more sequels you have, the more times people are gonna find out stuff, and nobody wants to nobody should find that out. I feel like it ruins the mystery. It ruins the what I don't know what made it interesting in the first place. And so I think the best thing for them to do is just to leave it alone. But the movies are made, and yeah, it sounded like, just from I only saw the trailers for it. It sounds like Halloween Kills. I mean, just from the title alone was really stupid. And then, yeah, you mentioned Halloween Ends was even worse. And I haven't seen them. I'm assuming it's supposed to be an ending for it, but you never know if a studio wants to keep an IP going or not. But this is an IP that I think should be left in the ground. But that's just
I'm with you. I agree. Like, and the irony in that, and the very fun part. So usually, like Gray, DC, myself, and Cole, we like come up with the planning and stuff, and that was DC idea to cover the Halloween franchise, and that's why we get through that slug of movie. So yeah, so DC had amazing taste. Gray, what did you think of that?
How about you go?
masterpiece?
Because I've got a differing opinion, so I'll wrap it up with mine. But how about you give your opinion? Because you keep
Ooh.
sarcastically calling this a masterpiece. So I have a feeling I'm in a different camp than you.
It's actually a terrible movie. I truly hated it. Um, so it's not the worst Halloween movie. Like, there's many worse of them. Like, I can't remember which one were worse, but I remember they were worse just based on grades. But my first issue was bad acting. Dialogue was awful. The guy going on front of the car felt stupid, like, oh, dangerous murderer inside car. Let's invite him to hit me. Pacing, dancing, singing scene was pointless. Can't aim. Characters just there to die. No character arc whatsoever. Lightning was bad on nighttime scenes. Pacing. And that was painful. Now, I gotta admit, I think this one entertained me more than most of these bad Halloween movies, because I do have a few likes. The action was entertaining, like there was always something going on so you cannot fall to sleep. Even if that movie is shit, You cannot sleep on it. So that's an achievement, I think. That's a defense for the movie. The music, the action again, the action. So I feel like the action is really the biggest strength the movie has, but that's not much being told. The atmosphere was fine. The hospital scene was entertaining. Um, it was entertaining to see like Michael Meyer delete people. Chaos was entertaining. I guess I wasn't bored with that really bad movie. That's something Ghostbusters should have done, right? Anyhow, these are my thoughts. What are yours? Great puppet.
Yeah, so there's 5 total timelines in the Halloween franchise. There's the original one. There's the Laurie Strode one where it's 1, 2, and then they go into H2O and Resurrection. Then there's 3, which is this current one, where it would go just Halloween 1, and then we've got Halloween Kills and Ends. And then 5, which is the anthology one, which is the first one, and then Halloween 3. I think that's my favorite timeline is just going from Halloween to Halloween 3, where it's kind of an anthology, which is what they had originally intended. Uh, I think this is actually my second favorite timeline. And that being said, I've got a list of problems wrong with this particular movie. But if you're just going from 1 to Halloween, what was it, 2018? I guess it was 2019. I can't remember the year that the last one was, but the predecessor to this one. Those are pretty strong flicks. I got to be honest. Like, I do have some issues with some of the acting, some of the choices. And then there's this one. And I don't know. I'd say about like 60% of this movie is really good. And then the other part just falls off a cliff for me. But there's some elements that are really amazing. So the actor who's playing Donald Pleasance in this, he looks spot on. Like, he just looks like the dude. Like, there is no reused footage from Halloween or Halloween 2 in this. They did so what they did, which is pretty amazing, is they actually talked to the cinematographer who did the first one, and they used almost the exact same equipment to really mimic those past scenes. And they really got it damn close. Like, it looks amazing visually. They figured out the lighting. They did the same lenses. Just, it takes me back, those past scenes that they're doing. And then I guess the guy who actually played Donald Pleasance, Dr. Loomis, he was just some guy working on the set, and they just all kept commenting on like how much he looked like him during Halloween, the original remake, whatever, reboot one. So they actually got him to play Dr. Loomis in this one, which is kind of amazing. But I really like what they did with those visually, and I think they did some other amazing things visually. The music, again, they actually have, they've got the man back, and he has his son with him doing it as well. It is just awesome. I think John Carpenter is amazing, and him and Cody Carpenter are doing some amazing things with the soundtrack on this. Just, it feels like it is the progression of that original soundtrack, and it's because they have the original guy doing it. It feels like they've updated it in so many good ways compared to every other one of these Halloween sequels. I don't know. I think they got that right, and they are going back to the source on that. I really like some of the performances. I know in the previous one, people had kind of said that Judy Greer was really, she plays the daughter, that she was really stiff in that. I think in this one, her acting is a lot better. She doesn't come off as stiff. I do see a range of emotion. I'm really digging what a lot of the characters were done in this. Like Officer Hawkins, played by Will Patton. He died apparently in the last one, but they kind of, bring that back. I think elements of this could have been good. I think they got really heavy-handed with the social commentary, the whole like mob thing. I think there's a way that you could have done that, and it could have come off decent. Even bringing back a lot of the characters that they did. I don't hate that. Like previously they had Paul Rudd playing Tommy Doyle. Now it's Anthony Michael Hall. I wish they could have brought Rudd back for this, but I guess it wouldn't have worked with the time. He's not the same age. But I don't know. I dug a lot of the characters in this, but it doesn't feel cohesive, and it really doesn't work. The one scene that really didn't work for me was So I like the lighting in it, which is part of the thing that Multi was calling out. And I think they did a pretty good job at night in the car when all of a sudden, for no reason, he decides to stand above the car and then take them out one by one. I thought that whole scene just sucked. There's so many different ways that you could have taken that out, but somehow the doctor lady falls out the window and then runs like 50 yards away, and then everything happens. And then it comes back to her running at the car from like 50 yards away. And then, she just ends so horribly stupid. I got to say that whole scene was just horrible. And then everything with the mob going after the guy, it could have been done well. And it's an idea that could work, that, this whole town has been ravaged by evil. What would the aftermath be? What would the residents be like? Maybe I could see somewhere where they could form a mob, but I think the way that they did this was just really poor. And then, I don't know, it does finally set up that, yes, he is supernatural. It kind of left that question, as Multi mentioned, like you could just cut off his arms and legs, because apparently his fingers are still gone when they shot them off in the last one. So it does seem like there are things about this that makes him both supernatural and not supernatural. He did get shot like 20 times, but he's still going. So I don't know. It is interesting. They could really screw this up in the last one for me. Like I said, I liked H2O, but then the second that they did Resurrection, it just killed that timeline for me. So I don't know. I'm more happy about the way that this timeline is going than I anticipated from everybody else. There's elements of this, and like there's actors in this that I really like. I just don't think it came together well. So yeah, overall, not super happy with it, but I don't seem to be as hating on it as you guys are.
Well, this is fine, and this is part of the fun. I never wanted any of my podcasts to sound like an echo chamber, so this is perfect if you liked it more than us. Like, we need more of that. That's also why every time I don't see DC, I'm like, we have the hot take missing, because he has a really crazy take that I like. He was the only one that I know that actually liked Gotham Knights. So yeah, shout out DC. Anyhow, what would be your grade out of 10, Gray Poupée?
It's still not a great film. It's definitely not the best in the series. I'm looking at like IMDb, they give it like a 5.5. I think I'd probably go a little bit higher than that, maybe like a 6.5. But yeah, it's still not great, but barely passing for me.
Okay. What about you, Cole? What would be your grade out of 10?
Probably a 2.
Hell yeah. But not for me. For me, that's more of a 4.5 out of 10, which
Well,
is still
that's terrible
bad.
for you, though.
Yeah, that's like the meaning of bad or awful or something like that.
Both the same.
That's a
Yeah.
failing grade.
Yeah, that's like really hard failing there. Anyhow, next topic, the one that got Graves excited about, Ghostbusters 2016.
Fuck.
Now, before we talk about this wonderful movie, the best movie ever made, we gotta say one thing that is essential there, because a lot of the anti-woke crowd trashed that movie because it has women in it, because they gender swap or whatever.
I don't know that that's just why they did it. I know
I'm
a
not
lot of
saying
people like
that's-
surmised it as that, but I heard a lot
Yeah.
more criticism than just women boo. Like,
Yeah.
This was like a little while like before that really like took off, like that part of the. I mean, it was always there, but it wasn't as big back then. It kind of got like bigger around 2017 and such. But there was definitely like some of that. No, there was definitely some of that, for sure. And there are definitely people who, who it's like they tried paint, as they always do in that, sided community, try paint it as, no, it's actually just because the film's garbage, but then all their complaints are just women bad, and you can clearly see it's just that. But no, most of them were actually just like, it just looks like garbage, and it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this this like the movie has valid criticism. Like it's truly
Yeah.
a bad movie. I was
But also
joking
here's the
around.
other thing. No, here's the other thing. No, multi. It to an extent they're kind of right with like the female thing too. Like in another situation, no, but it's because these specific female actresses are fucking garbage and unbearable. So
Honestly, this movie wasn't even like super political. Like today's movies are this and super political in your face. But this movie, it was just all what they mostly did was they replaced, the main cast with a bunch of Saturday Night Live female comedians who, they're only funny to a small minority.
mm-hmm.
So who wants to tear apart the movie first? Because I got a lot to say. Like
You do.
I found like a worse movie than Wakanda Forever. This is hands down the worst movie we covered on this podcast.
Yeah.
Well,
this
I do have
was-
some positives to say. Do you want to get that out of the way, and then we can just start trashing it?
Sure.
Okay, that sounds fun.
So there's some things that were done in this that were done kind of well. I like certain things in it. For instance, the way that the proton beam looks now from the pack. That looks a little bit better than just painting on the actual like celluloid. Okay, that's a little bit better. There were some effects that worked out kind of good. I kind of like a couple of the nods that they give in there. I really like one of the 5 that they brought back, or yeah, I think it was 5 cameos. I
like most
like
of the
when they brought Winston back as the the funeral home. Sorry, uncle. That's what he was. He was the uncle who owned the funeral home. Who's Hearst. They were born like. His cameo actually was pretty good. I would be totally down to see more of that. But everything else in here really sucked. It was like they tried to like redo the first one, but they took all the interesting parts out of it, and then they tried to kind of make the characters female, but at the same time, they took out everything that made the first one better. I don't know, like the actual like characters. Like if you're just going to talk about like Kate McKinnon, I think her name is Holtzman in this. She's supposed to be the Egon, the guy who comes up with all the gadgets and stuff. But I don't know, just the way that she's portraying that, I don't get like confidence off of her. And like, I don't know, there's just so many weird choices. And then
she's just
it does feel like
she's like a flanderized.
Yeah,
Egon.
it's
like
it's
a simplified
strange. And
his
then, like,
personality to just being weird.
Yeah, and that's the deal. Like they made her just constant dialogue like the whole time, and she was just saying buzzwords, but it didn't really make sense. Like when Egon would at least like explain it, it kind of made sense. But I don't know. It just felt like they took a whole bunch of buzzwords and just kind of like threw it into a random word generator, and it's like, okay, here's what her dialogue will be. I don't know. It came off as like simultaneously exposition dump, but at the same time meaningless. It just wasn't good. And then like with Leslie Jones, I actually like a lot of her comedy. I wanted to like her in this role. Winston is one of my favorite Ghostbusters. She's essentially just being that, like the person who comes in afterwards, who they just need an extra body in there. That's kind of the role that she's filling in this, except for she's just completely stereotypes and tropes. And it sucks. I want more for the character. There was one laugh that she did, and that was when she like at the concert tries to crowd surf and she like lands on her back.
That was a decent
I actually
joke.
chuckled at that. Yeah, and like it's about race. It's like, is this because I'm black or because I'm a woman? I don't know. It doesn't. I didn't hate that. That actually made me chuckle.
I like the
Kristen
joke
Wiig,
until
like,
she opened her
she's-
mouth.
I don't even mind it, but
I don't mind
I
it.
don't know. They just gave her nothing to work with, and then she's just like a stereotype, and it sucks. She's the transit worker who's sassy. It's like, okay, great. And then like Kristen Wiig, she's supposed to be essentially the Bill Murray character, but they took every bit of fun out of her, and it's like, what is her character? She like at one point is super into this scholarship thing, and then I don't know. She just pivots and then just has to prove that ghosts exist to this Bill Murray skeptic character. Like, I don't know. It's not a good, well-conceived character. And then Melissa McCarthy, I usually like her. I usually at least enjoy her kind of character. And she would be playing, like the Ray Stantz character. I don't hate that. Her character could work as an Aykroyd type, but every one of them is trying to be like the funny one, and I feel like I don't know any of their personalities. It just sucks. And I guess a lot of that comes from it was essentially improv. They used a lot of improvised dialogue, and I don't think it worked. Like, if you just look at that first scene, it's very similar to the opening scene of the original Ghostbusters, but it takes like 4 times as long to get through it, and it doesn't feel like the effects there even hold up like nearly as much. So I don't know, just so many things about this are wrong, and it sucks because I like a lot of the actors. I like Paul Feig, like he did Freaks and Geeks. I really liked that show. I don't think he brought any realism to this. It feels like they're all in a cartoon world. I don't know. Like, the fun thing about the Ghostbusters is it was this crazy concept, but in a very real world. This, no character, no person in there feels real. I hadn't seen this since 2016. I totally forgot who the bad guy was in this. He's completely forgettable. And I forgot that they just have this villain who's doing things since the start. Like, I don't know. This is just, it's not a memorable movie. It feels like it should be like a horrible TV show or something. It doesn't feel like this is the continuation of it. I'm glad that they did not get the sequel in this. It's just, I don't know. The real Ghostbusters, the TV show, is so much better. They could have just stolen anything from that, and it would have been so much better.
The one good thing this gave us, though, was the video game that came out afterwards.
Yeah, Ghostbusters 3 was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is a masterpiece, I gotta say. So, for once, I will start with my likes because there's not that many. It was entertaining, at least. Fight versus the ghost was entertaining, I guess. The cops. I did smell at the nose buster joke, the action, but like,
but even then, like, there's so many jokes that like could have landed. Like, okay, so the 2 like federal agents or whatever, the one guy doesn't notice that he's getting into the wrong car and like tries to sit in someone's lap. That could have been visually funny. The way that they did it was not. Like, every bit of humor in this does not land. There's a way that sight gag could be funny.
I think this goes back to like one point though that a lot of people brought up, and I think they bring which I don't think Multi has seen any of them yet actually, but reminds me though of a lot of people bring up Edgar Wright's films as like a good example, like a visual comedy, because this is a visual medium as well that you can use too. When it's like with all these shitty comedy films, it's like they just film them visually like car commercials. They don't care about that aspect, and it's such wasted potential with these films. And this is just another example that if they utilized it, then a lot of things with it could have been really good. And the other thing though is just like, in the original Ghostbuster films, they had a good balance with the cast. Like, not everybody was just trying to be laugh out funny all the time or just like one note like that. They all had their different personalities, and as a result, it made each of them hilarious because of how they, handled it differently and having that chemistry. But all of them are trying to do the exact same thing, so it doesn't work when they're all just the same character. Like, again, the only thing I liked about it was some of the effects, and there were like a couple jokes that worked. Like the lighting and some of the camera work was okay, because the director, he's made some shitty films, but he's made some okay films too, like Spy, which was probably Melissa McCarthy's best performance ever, and I guess Bridesmaid or whatnot. But lighting sucks, cinematography sucks, everything else sucks. It's just painful. I just wanted to quickly say that because that's really all I have to say about this film. Just terrible. So you can continue, Multi.
Well, Buster joke was the only one I did laugh at. The entire movie, I was rolling my eyes each time I was hearing their stupid jokes that didn't land or work. So this is the premise of all of my issues, and you will hear some recurring thing that keeps coming back. I will get annoying and boring. Not funny. Acting was bad. Dialogue breaks my brain. Not funny. telling instead of showing, more trash humor that doesn't land. Not funny, not funny, horrendous dialogue. Not funny, not funny, not funny, not funny, not funny, not funny. Telling instead of showing. I sound like a broken record. I can't believe this shit.
Yeah.
Not funny. Humor is godly awful. Oh, I tried to be.
Yeah, but what about the
more
dancing?
spicy. Well,
Yes.
I'm not there yet. That's by the end of that shit
Yes,
movie.
and please just mock this for how bad of an idea this is in general. All right, please just be as sexist as possible.
Dialogue is
I-
horrendous.
Yeah, I'm not.
Women
joking,
bad.
but- yeah, I'm not joking. You can do it. This is one of like the only ones you can do it with because this was actually like the film that fucking caused all this shit to this day because the fucking actresses like Leslie Jones came out and said everybody who hates it is just sexist. So this is like one of the few you can actually do that with. Go ahead, just
This was
say
during
what-
the start of the Me Too era, pretty much, too. Yeah.
So
Yeah, but
I'm not done.
That other female
not
remake
done,
though they
Paul.
did was pretty decent, Ocean's 12. But yeah, anyway, I'm sorry. I just wanted to mention that. Continue.
Not funny, not funny, not funny. Characters were forgettable, not funny. Dialogue.
Okay, which
was
character was
horrendous.
forgettable? Name them.
Everyone. I
Just say
can't point
all.
out to any of these, and it's funny because it's not funny. Not funny, not funny. Pacing. The third act wasn't needed. The movie could have ended with the Ghostbusters victory. The secretary guy doesn't even respond to the phone. This means he only exists for bad comic relief.
No, for eye candy.
Okay, if you say so, I trust you. Not funny, plot convenience, leaving the keys inside the car. Cringe dense sequence wasn't funny. Not funny, dialogue, horrendous as usual. Not funny, not funny. It tried to be sad, but it failed because characters are shit. And they ended up saving the shit characters. And I gotta say, if any sexist is saying girls cannot be funny, after watching this, maybe I will believe them.
Okay, no, this was a really poor version of it because all
Yeah.
four of these girls can be funny and have been in the past. This is just like a horrible.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
I don't know, but you didn't even mention Slimer with his girlfriend, man, and them just deciding to jump into the portal for no reason.
Maybe
they're
that's
once
one
they've
of the
stolen
not
the
funny
car?
moments. Or
I
maybe
remember they
tapped out
fell
at
in the
that
portal,
point.
but they were happy about it. They're like, "Wee!"
No, like
Oh,
he
yeah, that's
launched the
most
car
likely a
off
not
there like
funny
it was a
scene.
ramp, man. It was intentional, but he seemed happy about it. It makes no sense.
They're gonna go
but
out
you
with a
also
bang.
you forgot to mention that they had to, like emasculate and literally blow off the junk of, the Ghostbuster emblem at the end. That was the way that they, get him to go back as well. I don't know. There's so many bad choices in this movie, like just so many. I don't know why they decided to make it this way, but yeah, it just, I don't know. It feels like so many balls were dropped in this where they could have actually done something amazing
Unintended.
with the budget, the people they had, but no, this is what we got. And it sucks that, you'd resort back to, if you don't like this, it's just because you're sexist. It's like,
It's just a
no.
horrendous movie.
Yes, like this is like one of the biggest films that really started the growth of the fucking anti-SJW community, and that's why I fucking hate it because they actually did that shit. You're sexist if you hate it, and now ever since then we got a community that's mostly not like at least mostly like 90% of the time just fucking idiots when it comes to that talk. Like fuck. So,
And-
it's like,
and-
Jesus,
Well, it just
Here's
sucks
my
because
take
like
on it.
there is sexism in this movie, and there is a way that you could have a conversation about it, but it just sucks that this turned into whatever.
yeah, like
this
there is
is
some
where,
you could, be like again, there were definitely some people who it's like they just, said it was actually just because it was bad as like a disguise, but they were actually just, we're gonna hate it right away just because it was a female cast version of it. But it's too bad they just had to do that though, because it ruined it. Nobody cares now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
on top of that, I gotta say, even the leftists that will defend anything the anti-woke crowd goes after, they just cannot defend this shit because they also don't like it. So it's the most hilarious thing where they will tend to like take position and say, "Oh, we like stuff they don't like because we are different," but in the end, they just cannot say, "Oh,
Oh
we
yeah,
liked it."
that's kind of the same
It's
with honestly like both sides, which is pretty hilarious. It's like that. It's just they actually agree on so many things secretly, and it's kind of funny when you just like realize like there's this funny skit video I'll link you all later where it's like woke people and racist people agreeing on everything.
Yeah, Ryan Long and
So-
Danny, I can't remember his last name, but those dudes are
Yeah,
hilarious.
that was hilarious.
That video is amazing.
Yeah, I'll link it.
But yeah, there's a lot of it that goes on in this, and it just sucks because it's like Annie Potts, who played Janine in the first two, and I guess in the video game too. She's just amazing, but like she was a smart character, and there was a lot going on. Like she wasn't just eye candy, but in this, like literally, this guy can do nothing. Like he is just a moron, but they keep him around because pretty. Like I don't know. It's just I guess I don't
Yeah.
quite understand it, but it feels like there's something
star
that
power.
you
bro.
could actually talk about there.
Let me
Why
yeah.
is that funny? Like
Let me give my
I don't
thoughts
know.
on
It
this
just sounds
movie.
like they're taking advantage of a stupid guy. But
well, that's
yeah, please.
to be fair, that's Melissa McCarthy humor in general. That's why I don't like her. Like she's just one note. That's all she does. It's like she basically.
I don't know, man. Like her character in Gilmore Girls,
Let
like
me-
she's
I
played
don't know
characters
about
that you
that.
can
Like
emotionally,
sometimes, but like I'm sorry, the majority of them,
you can invest in.
the majority of them and how she like gained her fame on Saturday Night Live was literally just like doing skits where it's like she just reverses the
Yeah,
roles,
over the top.
reverses the roles like sexual assault on men is funny, ha ha ha. Like that's how she gained her fame. But I'm sorry, also great, yeah, great. But did you have something to say? Sorry.
Yeah,
Uh,
Drave, that's your
Oh,
turn.
I think
guess.
Grapes was gonna go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about this movie. So yeah, I'll start with some positives too. Since when I first saw this movie, and I also haven't seen it since because I refused to rewatch it. First time I saw it, I was not into the SJW or anti-SJW stuff. I was not aware of the culture war or how bad things would get yet. This was like the pipeline to it. This was what opened me up to it. So the first time I saw it, I was like, it's okay. But like reflecting back on it and remembering it and else talk, yeah, it really is that bad. But to start off, I know a guy who worked on the effects for the movie, and they're okay. Like you mentioned, Gray, you mentioned that the effect, I call myself a
The
Ghostbusters
proton
fan.
packs.
The proton pack. I'm like, I call myself a Ghostbusters fan, and I can't even remember what it's called. The proton pack. I thought it was like the effects were like it was all CGI for this movie. I don't think there was hardly any practical effects, which I'm a huge practical effects
Practical
fan.
slime, but yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, the slime, but like yeah, it was mostly CGI, which is okay. I like that a lot of sequels and remakes and stuff nowadays do use practical effects more because they know that there's a lot of people that loved that stuff in the original stuff. But their decision to use CGI was okay. The CGI was okay for most of this movie. And so shout out to that guy. But I'll even nitpick the CGI. I think that the proton pack, the laser is a little too bright and clean. I kind of like where it's more staticky and it's not as bright. It's not as laserish. It's supposed to be like more like a lasso than a laser cannon. So I like
Not anymore.
Well,
Now it dissolves
Ghostbusters-
people too.
yeah, Ghostbusters Afterlife did a good job like polishing the effect while also dimming it so it's not as brightly colored and solid. It looks so solid in the there is a gag and another positive. There's a few things in this movie. So like a positive, there's a gag where they're testing it out on a ghost and the proton pack just sizzles in front of it rather than blasting the ghost itself. And I thought that was kind of funny. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. That's a cool way to utilize it and testing it out and stuff. And I also like that Leslie Jones's character, who's supposed to be the Stan Winston or the Winston Zeddemore of this movie, her character had a little more involvement in the plot. As much as I love the original Ghostbusters, my goodness, Winston doesn't really have a lot to do in the story. He just kind of shows up and then he's useful as a member of the team. But like, that's it. He just kind of shows up. I like that, Leslie Jones's character, and I don't remember their names, so I'm just going to refer to the actresses. Her character has a little more like she learns about the Ghostbusters because they literally show up and she encountered a ghost and she's like, hey, I know, hey, you guys can help me with this. And then, in return later on, she's like, hey, can I work for you? My job sucks. So that was kind of cool. But other than that, the movie is such a flop. It wasn't even like, this was in the beginning of woke Hollywood. So the woke stuff is super subtle, hardly even worth mentioning. It's really just some comments here and there. And then emasculation, just subtle stuff that nobody really cares about unless they've seen every Hollywood movie since. You start to notice it after a period of time where like they do the same sort of stuff in every movie, but this was the movie that started it. So I don't blame most people for not noticing it. The movie itself is just bad. Like, it's just bad. And with each character, they couldn't make up their minds on whether to just have reverse gender versions of the characters or create their own characters. Because like you guys mentioned, each like member of the cast, at times they're supposed to be like their version of the original character, but they also they're also super different in a lot of ways, which could have made for a good original story, but they couldn't again make up their mind as to whether or not they should just stick to a reboot version, like literally just plot for plot point of the original, or make up a new story. And so it ended up just being this big mess, and there's hardly anything original about it. The villain is super forgettable and honestly really pathetic. But yeah, the effects were good. Some jokes were good, but yeah, the idea to make every character a comedian, and everything was really dumb. I actually really liked Chris Hemsworth in this. I think that him playing a dumb himbo is actually a really funny idea as opposed to a Janine character. But, maybe in a different movie it would have fit better. It's just overall, I hate it. And I was super happy to watch. I was super happy when they announced Ghostbusters Afterlife, and I loved that. I felt like that was a big correction to the.
You don't want to see these girls go up against Zool, though? They teased it at the end. That was really funny because I'm like, well, they basically already just did the Zool plot line. I would have loved to have seen them try to do a reboot sequel that's the same exact plot. But yeah, it was such a mess. And I think the only other thing we didn't touch on is like every one of the cameos. Like, I don't know, like everyone seemed wasted. Like Sigourney Weaver, like she's awesome. Even like as simple as when they brought back Janine, like I don't know, it just, why? Like I don't understand why these were all so wasted, but like the worst seemed to be Bill Murray. Well,
Yeah,
excuse me, I forgot about Dan Aykroyd as the cabbie. That was the worst. But I did dig Ernie Hudson. Like that one seemed decent. I would have wanted to actually see something from Uncle Bill, I think his name was.
How do you rate the
Sigourney
cameos?
Weaver was also horrible.
How do you rate the cameos?
Like all apps. except for
Oh no, I mean like how
I guess
do
Al
you,
Roker did pretty good as himself, and then Ernie Hudson was pretty amazing. But other than that, I would rank them all fails.
I mean, as far as cameos go, I mean they're not really supposed to have a big role in the story since they're not playing their original characters. They're bringing the actors back so the audience could be like, "Hey, I know that guy," but they're a different character. And I like that most of them were just like blink and you miss it. Like, "Hey, that's a nice little Easter egg. I know that guy.
It
He
was
said the
like
thing."
so apparent. Like they literally had Dan Aykroyd. I can't remember like how horrible the line was, but it was.
He's like, "Hey, I'm from Brooklyn. All right, I ain't afraid of no ghost."
That's what it is. I ain't afraid of no ghost. Yeah, it's just like
I
I don't know.
kind of
Every
like
one of
that.
those seemed like so bad.
I don't know.
I
I
hated
kind of
that
like
one.
that one.
And then I just hated Bill Murray playing the essentially like the now I can't even think of the actor's name in the first one, but essentially like the doubter in the group. I don't know. It just none of them worked for me. I think they were all wastes where like you could have just had them as somebody in a scene and it would have been just fine, but it seemed like they were just like trying to like really shine a light and make it like, look, do you remember this from the original one, the good one? I don't know, maybe I'm being an ass, but I don't know, I think every one of the cameos was a real waste, especially I really hated Sigourney Weaver's at the end.
It's
No,
funny all guys mentioned cameos. I can't remember shit because I was getting through the movie and I was like, this is just a pill of
I
hot
already forgot about
garbage.
them.
Harold Ramis was alive when they made it. Did he have a cameo? I forgot.
I think he passed just before it. He wasn't, but there is a Ramis. I'm not sure if that's his son as one of the band members.
That's right. No. That's right. There's a scene where there's a bust of him in like the school. They have like busts of like presidents and like other figures, and his face. He has a bust there. So it's cool.
So before we give away our wonderful grades, I'm wondering if, first of all, you want to add anything else more.
There was one other scene that got me to laugh. I totally forgot about it. That Brian Baumgarten, the dude who's from The Office, that he just appears at the end where, the himbo is just like, the five of you. Oh, there's five of you now. I don't know. I enjoyed that part. There's certain aspects that like I think they did kind of get the humor correct, but everything on this was just so much of a mess. It's a mess.
Okay. Well, the second thing I was wondering, Hot Drape, what did you think of the first two movies? And what did you think of Afterlife without any spoiler? Because I haven't seen Afterlife, and this is what we will cover next week. So what did you think of the franchise 2016 aside?
The franchise overall is really fun. And that's a good fun. I don't mean that as like some, white bread milk toast YouTube reviewer who loves every single movie. They're genuinely fun movies. You can watch them around Halloween time or any other time. They're usually, whenever they come out in theaters, they were released in like the summer usually. And even Ghostbusters 2016 was released in the summer. So they kind of give a summer vibe, even though the second one takes place during New Year's Eve. The first one is classic, really, really fun movie. The effects are iffy here and there, because it's an older movie, not the greatest effects for the time, but a lot of it was really, really fun, really good. The joke, like, it's not supposed to be a comedy entirely, but when it has jokes, they usually land. They're really funny. They had a cast of great people. Not everybody was a comedian, but all of their roles fit really well. You have the skeptic, you have the believer, you have the sciencey nerd, and then you have the straight man, Zedmore, and then you had Janine, their affordable receptionist lady, who was also really, really cast really well because the actress, whew, when she was younger, she was actually really attractive. But it's really funny that she doesn't show it in the movie. Um, it's it's just so fun and classic, and I don't even know where I can go from there. But the second one is it suffers a little bit from sequelitis. It kind of, you know how a lot of sequels the director will be a little more confident about the movie than the first time he does it. So a lot of things he does more of, and that can be good and bad things. There's a lot of the spookiness is still there. The effects are, you know, hit or miss pretty good. The story is okay. The jokes are hit or miss. Um, I I like it. I can see why other people wouldn't, as much as the first one, but it goes along with the first one as being a classic, being pretty fun, and it also, you know, gives a realistic like problem for the Ghostbusters of like, well, the reason they were in business in the first place is because there was some supernatural monster summoning ghosts, and so without something like that summoning ghosts, they don't really have a lot of business, and so they struggle with it, and people start billing them because they're like, you cause more destruction than actually helping people. And so there's a lot of like somewhat realistic issues that they face that I liked. So it's another good one. Afterlife, I won't spoil anything. It is a very nice trip down memory lane. It's a little more, it's got a more serious tone because it's more respectful. That's how I would describe it, is in respect to the original. It's honoring the Ghostbusters. It's really fun. The effects are great, and it's not as funny, but when there are jokes, they're usually pretty funny. The cast of new characters and old characters are great together, and the effects are great. There was another thought I had about it, but I forgot. It's one issue I have with it, and other people will probably agree, is that it's a little too familiar. It's mostly nostalgia, doesn't do a whole lot that's new, which is okay after ignoring Ghostbusters 2016. We've had quite a hiatus, so it's getting people back into the groove of Ghostbusters. It's not a whole lot that's brand new. It's a lot of, you know, same plot lines of the first movie, same kind of stuff happening, which makes it predictable once you start recognizing where it's headed. But other than that, it was a good movie, and announced a sequel to it that's coming out like next year or so, and I am looking forward to that. It's good. I'm a huge Ghostbusters fan, and that's why I did not like 2016, although I could see where they were trying for stuff there. I just, you know, it flopped. But Ghostbusters overall is a great franchise. I recommend it to everybody because it's just that good.
Well, this is a very interesting take. I like a lot of what you said, and I agree with a lot of what you said based on the first two. Anyhow, this is the verdict time where we judge that that serial murder of franchise. So this is hilarious. It went in the negative, just like Wakanda Forever. At first, I gave it minus 9.5. But then, just like Wakanda Forever, I tried really hard to say, okay, let's give back points. I gave back 3 points, making it minus 6.5 out of 10. Oh my. And I'm like, bruh, I don't sound like someone that is genuine when I give negative scores, so I will give the strict minimum a movie can get from me, 0.5 out of 10.
If you were to guess what it was rated on IMDb, what would you think it is out of 10? What do you
One.
think the public thinks?
No,
You said
One.
one?
well, a one can't really be possible. Like that would have to mean everybody on the planet basically thinks that. Like I think the only one that's even closest to that is some like Uwe Boll films and like
Batwoman.
and this one show that came out recently, Robin Hood, which
Oh
is
my.
really
That sounds.
That's what we're watching next.
you know about that?
I heard about
Oh yeah,
it.
we got to watch that next, man.
No,
Yeah, I
no,
mean,
no.
here's the thing. I'm sure it's bad. However, I had a friend who had like a talk with the director, and
Yeah.
it did just kind of get like a lot of hate from people who didn't actually understand what it was about. And sure, it looks kind of bad, but it is just like a low budget Canadian TV show for kids, and there's millions.
So you're
Kids.
saying you can watch this, but not that?
Wait,
Well,
what?
we got Naomi,
Whatever.
but that
Robin
wasn't
Hood's for
amazing.
kids.
Yeah.
Really?
The show where they have a condom jar in their house.
That's
Yeah,
for kids?
Well,
Yeah, they're teaching kids about
apparently,
safe.
but
Okay.
either way, you can say it's bad story wise and everything. However, it got a lot of hate from the beginning because of that. Because all those YouTubers like Critical Drinker just gained up on it purely because of you can guess why, and then
Yeah.
of course they slammed the show. However, if it wasn't because of just how it looked on the surface, they kind of wouldn't have. And they made a lot of false claims about it, like and calling it racist.
So you're saying you don't want to weigh in on this?
Maybe
I
it's
We
don't
can
indeed
weigh
terrible,
in on this
but
culture war
Oh
aspect.
no, it's terrible. I'm just saying, like the culture war thing, like kind of gave it some. I don't know.
Handicap.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of people just calling it racist. Like it's like, well, why are the villains white? Then it's like because it's Robin Hood. Like that. That's why. It's like it's like that community. It's like they'll
Robin
claim
in the
wokeness,
Hood.
but they'll just do the same exact thing, but in reverse. It's incredible. But anyway, it's a trash show, though it is. But you get what I mean. If it wasn't just for seeing like a black female on the cover and being some hood version of Robin Hood, then they would have just ignored it. It would have just been a 1 out of a million, just another bad TV show they ignored. But because of that, they had to gain up on it. Where if it was just a regular Robin Hood show for kids that was garbage, then they wouldn't have covered it.
that's true. Like, remember Nimona? They didn't know that movie existed, and that
Yeah.
they would have gotten like their field trip there.
Oh
They
well, yeah,
were
because
so many woke
you see,
eliminated.
they don't actually watch movies outside of the community. They just watch like around 30 or so of the most popular blockbusters of the year, and most of them are trash. And then they claim that Hollywood is just woke and that there's no good movies nowadays, even though it's because they watch nothing. And if they just actually watch things that aren't just like advertised to them, then they would see no, there's actually a lot of great films today still. And so they were just as bad in the past too. That there's a reason why you only remember like 30 of the most popular films per year, because all the ones under it, if you search, are pretty bad too. Just like today, like that fucking Cannonball Run film and other things by like fucking Burt Reynolds.
And on top of that, like, I think the only reason why they covered Robin Hood is because they knew that would prove some of their bullet points, and the other reason would be like, oh yeah, we have nothing else to cover because of the strike, so let's just gang up on something.
So we're too afraid to watch it then?
Actually, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, just don't waste your time with it. It is trash, but
Like, I won't waste time on a show that probably won't get a second season, and it's not comic book
Dude,
accurate.
we just watched this movie. I'm just saying, this is.
You
can
really
it be
want
worse
to
than
watch Robin Hood? You really
I
want
didn't want to watch this
shit?
again, but I did.
I listen.
I don't
I
know.
didn't want to watch this either, but Malty was really wanting to watch this.
And I did.
And
I
do
had
you
a
regret
field
it?
trip. Okay, so Grace, since you insist that much, let's cover Robin Hood eventually. Eventually,
Finally.
like mid-January when there's like gap in the planning. But yeah, let's suffer through this shit. Is the first season over?
Oh yeah.
No.
I don't know.
It,
The
it
first
is way
season is
past
over?
its
The
finale.
only season.
Okay, perfect.
Hey, you never know.
Yeah, if shows like Legends of Tomorrow went on for 7th season after like failing 4 times, I guess it could keep going on.
But
Anyhow,
sorry, that was a weird tangent. But
yeah,
it came from what do you think the rating on IMDb is for
yeah, low,
Ghostbusters 2016?
bad. I don't know.
Low, eh?
Surprisingly
Low,
not.
bad, eh?
4 out of
Huh.
10. I'll
Wait,
be generous
what?
and say
How
4
can
out of 10.
someone give 4 to this shit?
Nah.
I'd say
You think
overall
4 is
it's
generous?
it's still a failing grade. But I think that most people are too afraid to be mean to a movie, and so I think most people would rate
So-
it higher than it deserves. And so I'm assuming 3 or 4 out of 10.
No,
on
no.
IMDb.
I wish and I thought it was that, but it's surprisingly high. It's a 6.8.
What?
That is correct. And there are 242,000 votes
Yeah.
on this. Give it a 6.8 out of 10.
Yeah.
You know,
Holy
on
shit.
Letterboxd, though, it's like a 2.2 out of 5, so that's good.
I think
That
Letterboxd
sounds
is
more
more
accurate
than
to
that.
me.
Yeah.
That's like a
So I think I'd give it a 2 just based on like most of the jokes landing flat. Like the pacing in it just sucks. Like if you compare it to the first one, the pacing, like it does almost the same type of scenes, but it just takes so long to get there and the payoff is not worth it. To me, I couldn't give it more than a 2.
Feeling, yeah.
Yeah, I'll give it a 1.5.
Hell yeah. I like your score, Cole. What about you, Grape?
Yeah, I'll give it like a 2, same as Gray. Everything that it does, the original did better. I can see what they were trying, but they've ultimately failed. Go watch the originals.
Okay. I agree. Yeah, this movie was, I will say, fun to watch only for the roast, because that was a terrible movie. So anyhow, next topic, and this is the color purple. And the biggest reason why I wanted to cover this, it's because I knew they would do a remake. So I was like, oh, you know what? It's not my cup of tea, but I'm curious to see if the remake or reboot or whatever would be better or worse than the original. And
Yeah.
I
But
got
why, though?
surprised. I got surprised. I will be honest. I got
Wait,
surprised.
you enjoyed this?
I don't think it's a great movie by any means, but it was much better than what I expected.
Okay, well, no, that's fair. Yeah, for me,
Yeah.
this is a film for its time, and for its time, it was received super well by critics and everybody, and it was because it was one of the films that was first really trying to push, like black cast at the time and everything that was still not like really there as much, and it was also by a big director, Steven Spielberg, and a popular book, I believe. So it got a lot of praise, and also by the actors, especially Whoopi Goldberg and stuff. But looking at it now, I mean, I agree with you, Malty. It's still good, but I wouldn't call it great really either. I think this definitely a bit outdated, and it just kind of feels Oscar bait and a little melodramatic in areas. It's almost like Steven Spielberg just kind of made this to try to win Oscars. Like, yeah, please give me Award Academy. Just like, lol, no. Because this got nominated for 11 things, but won none of them. So, and that was also very controversial at that time and still is to this day, apparently. I don't, I don't know if you know about that or whatnot, Gray.
Gray, are you still alive?
Shit. I don't know. Maybe
I'm still alive. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't want to interrupt you. I
no, it's
get
fine.
some feelings, but I feel like maybe you should get all yours out first.
Okay, but yeah, and at the time though, I will say there, I agreed that it didn't that it didn't win anything because I don't think it deserved anything. But I will say there were some comments at the time after the award show when people got angry it didn't win anything, but it was nominated for 11 things, and because of the culture thing at the time, because there were like reporters, uh, making some very questionable comments towards the cast members. Yeah, okay, got it, Multi. But yeah, like I remember one who was like saying they didn't, none of the actors deserve to win any awards because they're just not as pretty looking as the other actors in the category. Just those black people can't be as pretty looking. That's what they said. It's just
That's
like,
horrible. No, I'm
yeah,
not as familiar with all of that kind of controversy
yeah,
over it.
yeah,
Damn.
but it's pretty insane. But anyway, and that's also why then Whoopi Goldberg, because a lot of people thought she was snubbed at the time there. Although the actress who won, was well deserved though too, and it was like her seventh nomination, and she didn't win any up to that point, and then she like passed away later. But that's why though that later on they gave her that fucking Oscar for that Ghost film for no reason other than to like play catch up there, but as they always do. But anyway, so that's just some history there about this film, and so I will say though, because of that I have no issue with the remake because I think there is a lot of room for improvement, and I do think it's been long enough. So because of that, I don't have an issue with it. I think this is one of them that's okay to do. Like do ones like these. I just don't think it will be that good or anything from like what I've seen. Maybe it'll be good in areas like production and such. I don't know, but yeah, we'll see. But anyway, for the movie itself, though, my thoughts on it. Yeah, well, I already kind of said my thoughts on it, like what I kind of think about, the tone and everything. But yeah, I mean, it's still a well-made film. It's still well acted, at least for most of the cast members. It has good costume design and production. It has good lighting and the cinematography. I've seen better, but the lighting, helps it though. They did a good job there and with certain shots. Again, it just feels really melodramatic at points. So I just don't think Steven Spielberg is really great at that. And some films when he's just trying to do like a pure drama, like he's better when it's like meshed more like with Jaws and such. But it's a good film still though, and that's what I'll say. It's still good, just I don't think it's great or anything. But what did you think, Greg?
Yeah, I don't hate it. A lot of my thoughts are along the same lines as yours. That being said, like I remember having to read the book, and the way that the book portrays it is a lot different. It's a lot more like in your face. It isn't as kind of like subtle and like a Spielbergian way of like kind of, I don't know, sugarcoating like a really horrible situation. There's certain things that they just kind of like gloss over in the film, and it's just kind of, I don't know. The way that he depicts it just comes off. I don't know how to even say, like, it's not necessarily like failed fairy tale esque, but it doesn't have like the impact that you'd hope it would. He is successful in a few other things. There's some shots in there that are really cool. A lot of them are the transitions where it seems like he was trying to be fancy, like it goes from the train tracks to like the tire wheel or the trow, excuse me, the tractor tire. It's kind of cool the way that they do some of that stuff, but overall, I don't know. I'm just not the biggest fan of this adaptation of the book. The book is just kind of interesting because you have kind of an unreliable narrator, and then she like every chapter basically starts with her letter to God, which that whole part is kind of omitted from this. Fair enough if he doesn't want to make it like religious or whatever, but you get kind of more of an idea of this character. I still think Whoopi Goldberg's performance was pretty good, but I don't know. In the book, you get letters from her sister and you get her letters to her sister, and you kind of, there is this unreliable protagonist thing going on, unreliable narrator. Is this actual? Is this kind of more her, like nice way of putting it to her sister? It's just, I feel like it's lacking in a bunch of different levels. There's some layers missing in this adaptation of it. That being said, there's some really powerful things, and it still is pretty moving. You still do get that these sisters love each other, and that that is the main thing that she's wanting. But I don't know. The book just seems to be like way more explicit, and it really gets to it. Like even in page 1, it talks about the horrible acts and like who the father is. Where it kind of takes a while to get to it in the movie. I think the adaptation could be much better than this particular one. I think there's just a lot of misses in it for me. That being said, I can see why it's nominated. It's a powerful story. It is one of the first like feminist critiques that was made into film. Fair enough. I don't know. I do get some of the. I know Baldwin had like a weird, not a weird take, but he was not favorable of the film. He was basically saying that. It doesn't portray any male characters in a good light, and even if they're going to be like, evil characters, you kind of want a backstory as to like what created this evil. You get none of that. Just every male in this is horrible, and there is no positive depiction of a black male. So fair enough. I can get why he would definitely be kind of concentrating on that.
Same here,
But
but I
it's
I didn't note it as an issue because I don't want to sound
Yeah,
like
they're
these anti-woke
one-dimensional.
channels.
No,
Yeah.
it's true.
Yeah, it's very one-dimensional characters, which fair enough. So I think there's areas where they possibly could improve it with an adaptation, but would it be the same thing that this is going for? This obviously is a feminist critique, so I don't know. I'm kind of
Yeah.
fine with this being what
I
it
mean,
is,
I'm
but
fine
I think
with
they
that.
could do a better adaptation.
Oh yes, well that's why I'm fine with the remake. I just don't think that will be that great either from what I've seen so far. But I mean, I completely agree with you, Gray. The thing is, though, is I'm fine with them not doing as similar things to the book. I guess like we've seen it many times, like just with stuff like the Shining, I guess, but also even like mangas not being accurate to it, like Akira, for example. As long as what they go for in their own film is also just as good or good too. But the problem with this for me is that it's not the things they change up or decide to do with the message, and to an extent with certain things, like I'm fine with that, and what they went for there is good. It's the ones that are most similar to what it's adapting, it just does a poor job at it. Like against Spielberg, just it's just when he tries to direct just like pure drama films, he can't get the tone right or anything.
I agree, but it does seem like when he adds drama into his other things, like it's done well. So I don't know. I was hoping more from this. So hopefully the adaptation is a little bit better. But Multi, what were your thoughts if you're back?
Well, I will say, like, when it comes to adaptation, before I really get into it, this reminds me of an example because I'm a huge Naruto fan, as Cole knows, and Dre will end up knowing at some point. But, like, in the manga, there is a character that got, like, both of his arms chopped off. And in the anime, the same character then got both of his arms chopped off. And like they were like, oh, you won't use your arm anymore in both versions, but you're like, why? I still see the arms. Like, to understand like why he won't use his arm, you need to read the manga. And that's moments like that makes some adaptation fails sometime. But that was my very small tangent about adaptation and stuff. Before I go on, I'm wondering, Drape, have you seen the color purple?
I have not. I have heard. Is it a like an adaptation of a Broadway musical?
It is an adaptation of
I
a
mean,
novel, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they probably did Broadway plays of it, but it was originally a novel.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I haven't
So-
heard a lot about it. So I'll probably just stay silent for this one mostly.
Okay, I mean, have
it
you seen
sounds
the Fast
interesting.
and Furious films?
Yeah.
I have, yes, yeah.
Okay. Well, here I am. So my first issue, the husband is one-dimensional because there's no fleshing out of the character. He is just bad husband, bad person. Telling instead of showing. Characters are forgettable. I don't even know the names of the characters. Uh, the only character I really cared for was Cecile, and she was the main character. But even there, like, it took me the entire movie to remember a name. So yeah, basing the
Do you
last.
think that could be a you problem though? Like they carve their names into the tree. I don't know. Like they make it a big prominent thing about it.
Unforgettable, bro. Like
Really?
if I consider a character good, I'm fast at learning their names.
So you don't remember what the one son's name was?
No, I don't.
You can't remember Harpo?
No,
You can't remember Nettie?
no,
Okay. You can't remember Squeak?
no.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Pacing
Fair enough.
the last 30 minutes lasted for too long. So I feel like the movie could have ended like in the 2 hour ish mark. Or maybe
I mean,
you can
it is a
trim
pretty
down the
long
last
book.
half an
I mean,
hour. Or you can like simply like trim down the last half an hour because there are some interesting things happening there, but I don't feel like that runtime was justified. Um, Side note,
I think if you read the book, it would be justified, but I think with like what the film did, it wasn't.
yeah, exactly. So side note, so this is not an issue, this is more of a side note. It does good job at making the viewer uncomfortable when they were talking about like underage stuff, like if you know what I mean. At some point they were talking about that, and like for that time that was like normal because that was like the 1900 early 1900 people were kind of different. So yeah, I still have a lot of likes because, as I said, that movie hooks me more than expected. This is not usually my cup of tea, but I enjoyed the trip. No regrets there. Entertaining, accurate of what used to be fine. The music, the characters are likable, even if they are forgettable. Like they still like bring their presence. You know, they're like I don't remember any of them, but the scenes with them are entertaining. Maybe that would
You
be.
don't remember Suge? None
I
of them?
don't, bro. None of them. Only Cecile marked me, and that's normal because she's the main character. Um, the separation scene was sad and well made. Uh, the shaving scene early in the movie and in the end felt great. Um, the struggle of the characters were well depicted. Um, so yeah, I have more notes, but I'm not in the best shape. So I guess I will simply say that I enjoyed the movie. Um, I don't think it's a masterpiece. I don't think it's great, but it made the job. It's just a good movie. It's just a solid movie. Um, I don't have much more to say, so I will give my score right now 7.5 out of 10. So this means following my score, it's a good movie. What about you, Gray?
I'd agree with you. I think I might go 7 in there. There's some really good aspects, again, like the transitions. He did a lot of them that were kind of cinematic. I really liked it. But yeah, I think I'd go 7. Uh, I would like to play the IMDb thing with you again on this one. So you gave it 7.5. I gave it 7. How much do you think the public gave it on IMDb?
9.
7.7. So you're a lot more in line with where they were at. Only 0.2 different. So, but keep in mind, Ghostbusters 2016 was 6.8 apparently. So
Apparently.
interesting.
Yeah.
What about you, Cole?
I'll give it a 7.5 as well. I think it's very good, but yeah, definitely. I think all the fucking weird hate that Titanic gets nowadays from people and calling it like melodramatic and a bad film because of certain fucking nitpicks with it actually should be towards this film. But not to say either is bad though. But yeah, and do also remember though that I'm unlike sites like Letterbox, IMDb has been around for a while, so because of that, there's a lot of older films like this, that even if they're a little bit more polarizing or loved nowadays by other audiences, they'll be in like around the 7.6 range because a lot of people thought something different at the time, and other people think differently now, but there's still a lot of those ratings there, so it's more, it kind of ends up in the middle. That kind of happens a lot with like a lot of Hollywood, well, I would say popular Hollywood films nowadays. Like a lot of them were pretty loved or hated, but have kind of like gone up or down. Like you'll see that a lot on there. But yeah.
So I will ask Drapes, have you seen the Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, I believe, and the fourth one? Grapes?
I'm pretty sure he said he did, so he can also discuss the first and second. But that's still such Jesus fucking Christ! You went from the Fast and the Furious, and then you're calling the fourth Fast and Furious. Fucking hell!
Yeah,
But it was too fast, too furious. Come on.
bruh.
God
You
damn.
guys hear me?
The fourth one was so fast you can't even use and. I don't know. You can't use those, man. You got. I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. But yeah, they're fun title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Drapes, are you there? Are you with us, Drapes?
Yeah. Guess he can discuss the first and second.
I guess he's not there with us right now, so I
Okay.
guess we are starting on that one. So, Tokyo Drift, the masterpiece.
Fucking hell. Okay. I'll just go
Apparently,
first
this one's
here.
kind of polarizing. But yeah,
No,
Blue
it is.
started.
This is the most polarizing one. Not to say
It's either the greatest or the worst, depending on who you talk to.
yes to most people. And after rewatching it, I kind of know why. Also, yeah, hopefully it fixes mic issues. But yeah, I know why after rewatching it. Because it is very different from the others. It tries to do different things. It basically, what it does is, unlike the others, it goes for it. Well, Fate of the Furious kind of tried to do similar things too, except I thought that one was more successful. Not to say either are like very good films or anything, no, but tried to do more of like a drama, character growth thing, but also more than the others at least. But also it kind of tried going for like a mix of like a Top Gun feel to it, and that type of like style of film and with characters and such, and also kind of like a coming of age film as well. And that's nostalgic and comforting for a lot of people, and especially some of the with the new place they went to compared to others at the time, where it was all kind of just like in the same spots, and like the other two and the fourth and such, which also interests people. And it's also kind of like gives them a nostalgic feel into, I guess, a lot of like drag race films from like older, like the older decades, I would say, and especially in like countries like Japan and such. So I get that. And I also kind of like the actors in it, even though they do I'm not going to spoil anything, but it is just hilarious the shit they start to do with characters. Anyway, we'll get to that when we get to it. All I'll say is Gotham. That's it. Okay. But anyway, in this third film, though, it still fails for me. I don't think it's one of the worst, though. I definitely don't think that. I think the second is worse, and I think the two most recent ones are worse. And I think it's more so on par with like the first, maybe, or yeah, I think with the first around that, but a little less so than that. That's where I would kind of place it. So like the fourth weakest or so. So the reason why it's still kind of bad to me is, while I appreciate all that they tried there, once again, it's just poorly executed. It's just poorly executed. What just wasn't.
Hey, the drifting was pretty sweet.
Yeah, that was kind of cool, but God, I just love these comments Gray makes. But yeah, it was kind of cool, and some of the character growth was like okay, but it's just the writing and everything, just like the first film. It just that's why it fails. It's sort of like it's sort of like expecting a good performance out of Gal Gadot. You're not going to get it, so don't try to like put her in like a fucking drama like Cleopatra or whatever. But anyway, yeah. So that's all I really have to say. It's just it's didn't work. It could have. It's just they weren't talented enough to make it work. But it's definitely not one of the worst to me. There's definitely at least 3 others I would say are worse, and it's at least watchable. I'll say it's at least watchable, even if it's bad, kind of. But I think the reason why they did this too was because I believe this was like after, because I talked about like yesterday that one film as well that is kind of like similar to Fast and Furious, that had like a similar style and tone, that Better Luck Tomorrow film by Justin Lin, and that was kind of like in the same style, similar to other films back then. Well, yeah, it's by the same director, Justin Lin, and yeah, that's how he got his start in the industry with that one film, and then moved on to films like this and other Fast and Furious films. I think he directed like 4 or 5 of them. He's like directed the most of them, and he's directed some of the best and some of the worst. But yeah, I think this is why they attempted that, though, because it was after Better Luck Tomorrow, and with being an Asian American film that was like kind of new for its time, and I think they kind of wanted to try to get like a similar feel and everything out of it after that film released into acclaim. So I think that's what they kind of attempted, and he attempted, but it didn't really work. But yeah, anyway, that's all I have. Well, wants to go next? Oh, actually, I guess we can let Grape talk about the first and second if he wants.
Drape, yeah, exactly what I was thinking, Cole. You read my mind. So, Drape, are you with us right now, or you still experience some issues?
I should be good for a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, the Fast and Furious movies are a guilty pleasure because they progressively get more wacky with each sequel. But the first one's pretty fun. Yeah, I don't remember it very much, but I do remember it being pretty solid.
It's a real time capsule.
Yeah.
So I wasn't crazy. Good to know. I actually liked it, but I felt like I was crazy.
Yeah, no. You're so crazy.
Cole.
You just have a cellmate. That's all.
Oh my!
Because we don't want you to be lonely.
Yeah, at least I'm not lonely. You're right. What did you think of the second one, Drapes?
The second one. Now that's the one where Paul
Too
Walker.
Fast, Too Furious.
Yeah, that's the one where Paul.
You get Ludacris in there now, and then you get now I'm blanking on his name, but yes, Paul Walker goes.
Yes, it's kind of like the
Tyrese
equivalent of
Gibson?
Jurassic Park 3,
Yes,
where they went
Tyrese,
into it without a script.
That's right. Him and Tyrese Gibson.
But no Vin Diesel.
No Vin
that's right.
Diesel. You're right.
Okay. Yeah, I remember like a year ago, I watched all the movies except for like the latest 2. So him and Tyrese Gibson. I thought it was okay. I don't remember much else. It was starting. It became a gradual shift from just simple like racing movies, or like street racing movies, to big heist movies. The second one leaned a little more into action, I think, but it was still pretty similar to the first in terms of like quality and story. But I actually have to get going pretty soon too, so I'll probably just use this as an exit and let you guys talk about the rest.
You could just give us your rating for all 4 we're covering so far.
Yeah.
For number 4.
Yeah, well, all 4, 1 to 4, your ratings.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, all the rating, and your rating for Doom Patrol 4th season as well, because I heard you had seen it.
Oh, I hadn't actually seen that. I've been meaning to get into Doom Patrol because from what I saw with it, it actually looks pretty fun. But with Fast and Furious, let's see, the third one more or less is Tokyo Drift.
Yeah.
That's right. And then the fourth one is just Fast and Furious, which
Yeah.
is not confusing at all. The third one, I kind of like it. It's not really tied to the main story. It's like what's the guy's relation to like the main characters? Isn't he like somebody's cousin
No.
or something?
No, it's a spin-off. It's just
He
like,
has no relation.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He some guy moves to Japan, and basically becomes part of the drifting street racing culture over there. It's your typical like fish out of water rookie wins the day, saves the girl. I forget. I forgot a lot of it, but I thought it was okay too. Like to be honest, as laughable as the more recent ones are, they're honestly more memorable for me because I'm more of an action movie guy, and so the original movies in the franchise are a little more forgettable for me, except for the racing bits. I'm like, yeah, this guy goes to a place and makes some enemies, but then he races against them, and some of them respect him, and others are just bad guys. And yeah, overall it's okay. Fast and Furious. Now this is the one where Paul Walker and Vin Diesel reunite, right? And he's like working for the FBI.
Yes.
He's like, yeah, that's right. It starts to get a little more like conspiracy kind of. It's more action, and it's kind of cool seeing them all back together, and they start uniting under. They start getting their team together and all that. Fast 5 is where it really just goes off from there. But Fast and Furious, really confusing title, but I think it was okay too. I think like every movie is more or less the same in terms of quality for me, besides the tonal shift with each movie to just generic action movie by the end of it. Other than that, the quality for each movie, aside from the first one, is about the same. The first one is the best in terms of quality, but each one after that's just kind of like, it's kind of the same thing more or less. But they lean into more action. I like it. I actually haven't seen the more recent ones, but they're pretty much the same thing. And I might go watch them just because they're guilty pleasures of mine. So yeah, in terms of rating them, I'd have to rewatch them all to properly review and rate them all. But overall, the series, in terms of just a simple, fun action series with cars and women and stuff, it's a... I'll be generous and say 7 out of 10, just for being fun, turn your brain off and enjoy it kind of movies. And with that, I'll leave you guys to it.
Thank you very much for sharing, man.
Yeah.
So have a great day and take care, Grape.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, thanks
See you
for joining
guys.
us.
Yeah, thank you guys. We'll see ya.
So yeah, let's talk about that. So I'll let Cole start. Well, actually, you already started.
I think
but,
Cole already did. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you want, I could just quickly do 4 and then do the
do
ratings and
4.
head out.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's just something came up. I have to go, great. But you guys can cover the rest of the films. And I mean, if you saw any of the shows, great, then you can cover that. But we're going to do a part 2 to that, 30 or 60 minutes long on Thursday, I guess, maybe around 2 Central. But anyway, I'll just quickly go here. The fourth. So I did think this was definitely a big improvement from the other 3 for most of it. I think out of the 4 so far, the fourth is the best, despite the stupid title and despite actually having like lower ratings than the others online, surprisingly. But I do actually think it's the better one, because I think this is when the franchise started to understand more of what it should do and embrace itself, while still being grounded enough where it isn't completely stupid. And 4, 5, and 6 basically did that best, and I guess you could say 7 and 8 to an extent as well. But still keeping some of that, and especially not going to just dependent on that. If your action choreography isn't the most entertaining to watch. Yes, I'm looking at you, 9 and 10. But and I would say fourth kind of did that decently, not on the level as 5 or 6, which I think are the best in the franchise, especially Fast 5, which is the only good one to me, and it's also made by Justin Lin. So again, he's made some of the best and worst. I also think he might have directed this one too. I might be mistaken though, but yeah, and this was pretty decent for the most part. I enjoyed it. Um, there were some stupid character moments though, but for the most part I liked it, and some of the ridiculous moments of it that are stupid but embraces itself. My main issue with it though is the climax, the whole climax and kind of ending, I think, and the third act or whatnot really dropped the ball. I think it was just lame, and there wasn't much to it to me, but so that lowers it for me. But outside of that, I thought it was kind of half decent, I guess. And then, I mean, if you want my ratings for it so far, I guess I would give like the first one I'll just refresher the first one a 3.5 or 4, the second like a fucking 2 or 2.5, and then I'd give the third film a 3 to 3.5, and then the fourth one I'd probably give a 4 out of 10. But yeah, and okay, that's cool, Gray. But anyway, sorry, I have to go now. But
Thank you.
Enjoy talking about these two masterpieces, Gray.
Yeah, thank you for sharing a lot, Cole. So, anyhow, have a great day. Take care, and we will talk later.
Yep, see ya.
So, yeah, great. So, basically, it's earlier than usual, and that may conflict with Tinker. So, what I thought we could do is we talk both Fast and Furious movies, since these are the last two movies, and we can talk Ash versus Evil Dead right now after,
All right,
if
let's do
you
it then.
want, because I know.
Yeah,
you
I kind of
Tinker
forgot
on
time
Tuesday.
zone thing when he
Yeah.
said the time. I was like, yeah, that works. But
Yeah,
yeah, you're right. That actually may conflict. So
yeah.
fair enough. So I got issues with all of the Fast and Furious movies, but I don't know. I think I got the most issues with Fast and Furious 3, Tokyo Drift. I'm not the target audience for this. Like, I don't care that much about cars, but I do want to give this a couple of positives. Like, it did spawn like a whole bunch of memes. Like, we didn't really have drifting in our like common lexicon. I know it wasn't like a part of a whole bunch of memes before this. And then that one song with like a whole bunch of bells, the one. It's super iconic. That turned into like such a meme song as well. I'm still hearing that today, and it was 2006, so that's almost 20 years ago now. So that's pretty awesome. It does have a few things that hold up for sure. But from the opening of this movie, I am out. I hate it. Just this Lucas Black. I don't think he's a main leading character. I didn't care about him. I actually, when I saw the kid from Home Improvement, Zachary Ty Bryan, I started rooting for him. I was like, okay, this guy, he's going to be the star. Clay, apparently, like, in that first race that he's doing, where apparently, his car isn't worth enough to Clay. So he's not going to bet his car against the other guy's pink slip. But, he's totally willing to have this race for his girlfriend. Apparently, she's only interested in whoever can drive the fastest. I don't know. It just seems really stupid. And if we're going to talk about like the sexism in Ghostbusters, like, come on, that's really shitty. That like it happens twice in this movie. I think I don't know. I think you could get something else. Like, just say it's for pink slips, whatever. But whatever. And then it becomes a really stupid crash that apparently nobody's injured in. Everybody has the exact same mark on their forehead, but nobody's really injured in it or anything like that. Instead, that magical thing that happens to every minor in the US is instead of going to juvie or actually having to pay for your crimes, you get shipped off to Tokyo. I don't know, it doesn't really make sense at all. Like, it just seems like a convoluted plot contrivance. So I don't know, I'm already checked out, but fine, he's in Tokyo now, and then he just happens to be given this car and then gets in debt to somebody cool. I don't know, it just, parts of this are really cool, but parts of it just seem so contrived to me. And I get it, like, it is what we're going into in these movies. They become so less based in reality, but this one was supposed to be kind of more of a step back to reality, back to like the streetcar racing thing. That being said, it's pretty fun. I would rather watch this again than I would say Ghostbusters 2016. It's just not my cup of tea. It's not my style of movie. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there were any more positives in it. Just nah. I mean, like, there's some really cool cars that you see, but again, it just doesn't mean that much to me. But perhaps that's just me. What were your thoughts on it, Multi?
Okay. After watching this, I gotta admit, I somewhat agree with both of you. Like, maybe I was way too generous with the first two, and maybe I was like half watching because I was like, these are supposed to be like the best movies in the franchise, so I gave it a lot of freedom that I don't usually do when we review movies. But Tokyo Drift is so bad. It's like, what happened? What happened? Okay, so my first issue, dialogue was weird. Second issue, dialogue was bad. Third issue, plot armor on the guy that flipped his car many times. No injuries whatsoever, just like what you said. Dialogue, they didn't talk enough to know the girl past. That felt weird. Characters are forgettable. Dialogue, main character was one-dimensional. Like, he mess up all the time and he just doesn't like learn from it, and he only learns it by the very end when you get actual growth. But there are
You mean
so
when
many...
his friend just hands him a duffel bag full of money to take care of his problem? That's when he grows? And he
Yeah,
learns to race his problem away?
yeah,
I don't know. They're again racing for a girl? I don't know. It's so weird. But fair enough.
agreed. Next up would be the antagonist was weak, so I speak more slightly about like that brat. The uncle was actually cool, but the brat was just annoying. Plot armor. The big Tokyo crash with two heavily damaged cars didn't ended people's lives. Um, yeah. Gel reduced to be the price was sad. This I agree. I was like, yeah, she didn't get any growth. She was just there to be weird eye candy for teenagers, I guess. Um, these are my dislikes, my issues. I have a few likes. The music, the race was entertaining underground race, father and son scene, entertaining race stuff. The action was
Which
entertaining.
father and son scene? You thought between him and his father was good?
Sometimes, like the first scene, I was like, "Oh, that's cool," but throughout the rest of the movie, I didn't give a crap. But
Mm.
the first scene they had together, I was like, "Oh, his father is cool." Um, the race was cool. The main character growth was decent, and I'm not saying great or good. It's just decent because he had some. The uncle was cool. The race, and that's it. So this movie was really bad. And I was like, okay, this is where the series is hitting at. Every single movie will be that bad, maybe worse.
So they go in a different direction from here. You get like a taste of it in the next one, but this was kind of them bringing it back to the originals. Like they realized they went a little out there with Too Fast, Too Furious, so now they need to get back to street racing. I do want to give it a couple more positives. I do think the actual street racing in this was shot pretty well. It didn't seem as much like a cartoon or like a video game, like in Too Fast, Too Furious, where the inside of everyone's car is completely one color, and it comes off like you're playing Mario Kart or something. This one didn't exactly come off that way. Some of it was more realistic, but yeah, I'm struggling to find kind of more positives for this. But yeah, I like the way that the actual racing was shot in this. It did bring a little bit more reality to it than the previous film in this series.
Yeah. So I guess we can give away our score. Mine is a 5.5 out of 10. I still think there's worse. It's much better than most Halloween movies, but nonetheless, it's not much being told. Like for me, 5.5 is like bad. What about you?
I think that's generous. I'm just not a fan of it. I understand it's not for me, but yeah, I think the most I could give it's like a 3.5. I just think every bit of the plot is not that great. I don't know. I'm struggling to find anything positive to say about it. I gotta go 3.5 is my tops for this one. But if you were to guess IMDb, do you think it's closer to me or closer to you?
I think it's closer to me because like it has divided.
You're right. 6. Yeah, it's 6 out of 10. So that's really close to your 5.5.
Like,
so you seem to have the pulse of the people, sir.
Yeah, like the way I see it, I'm sure like people gave it either a 1 or 2 or like a 10 or a 9. But I'm more sensible than this. So maybe I'm like that's why I'm that close from that like score there. And like I said it in the past, when I grade stuff, it's always mechanical. It's like sometimes I do take way more points when I do think like the issues weight more, but like I don't get my feeling in the way usually. That's why like Godfather, even if I didn't like the movie, I still gave it a 9 because I see the value of it, if you know what I mean. So that's why maybe I'm so close of that score, because even if I'm not the biggest fan, like just entertainment and enjoyment, this movie would be like 8 or 9 because there's a lot of going on, but it's not an 8 or a 9 because it's still a bad movie, and I still had issues, you know. So yeah, that's how I proceed. So I guess now we can move to Fast and Furious. What did you think of that one?
Again, these movies are not for me, but I like it at this point. It's starting to get a little bit more outrageous. They kind of know what they're doing. Like it starts out with a decent, horrible heist. Apparently, you need to watch a short film that they included on the DVD to kind of understand why they're stealing the gas. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting short film, if you will. A lot of it is just Vin Diesel making out with Michelle Rodriguez on a beach. But yeah, it is kind of interesting. I'm not the biggest fan of this, but I like this one so much more than Tokyo Drift. I like it a lot more than Fast and Furious 2, and I like it more than the first one, to be honest. It still is rather stupid that, again, the FBI needs to go in to be race car drivers for some reason. But fair enough. They kind of get what they're doing at this point, and I think they're doing it a little bit better. I'm kind of struggling to remember a lot of the plot points from this, and I just watched it a couple days ago. Oh, right. It's so Jordana Brewster's back. Apparently, we learned that Letty gets killed. So that's gonna definitely plague the rest of the series. But yeah, there's that heist in the beginning, and then they kind of go their own way. And yeah, you get to meet Gal Gadot in this one as well. I guess this was one of her first roles. I gotta be honest, I forgot that she was in this series, and that's kind of a forgettable character that she plays. It was kind of fun to see Jordana Brewster back as the sister, and Michelle Rodriguez, and then you learn that apparently Paul Walker had Michelle Rodriguez working undercover, and it led to her demise. So everybody's in on this special undercover mission to truly get revenge. It's kind of fun, and then I do like how it sets up what Fast Five is going to be, because they get double crossed. They're told that Dominic Toretto's crimes will be expunged if he just helps the FBI with this one thing, and they don't go through with it. Instead, he gets sentenced to like 25 years or something at the end of it. So yeah, it ends with kind of a fun thing where you can tell the gang's all going to get back together in the end. Paul Walker decides, I'm not really the good guy pretending to be bad. Maybe I am the bad guy pretending to be good. So I don't know. It's kind of fun, and you can kind of see where it's going to go from here. Uh, it's not a great movie, but I like it a lot more than the other ones so far. I think that's about all I have to say on this one.
I feel you, and I will say that was actually my second favorite, I think. Or maybe that's like a bit underneath 2, because I liked more 1 and 2, maybe. I can't remember. Did I give like 2 a 7 or a 7.5? This I can't remember. But anyhow, I thought this movie was a major improvement in comparison to freaking Tokyo Drift. It's still not a great movie. I thought that was average at best. My first issue would be it doesn't make any sense for the main character to be reinstated. He did many crimes. Not funny. Can't aim. Pacing. The third act could have been trimmed down. Weak main villain. Cars going into a burning fire. Whiteout catching and fire was stupid. But I guess this is only the start, because that kind of shenanigans happens a lot. Anyhow, these are my issues. I don't have that many. That's why I say this is a major improvement in comparison of freaking Tokyo Drift. Sorry, Tokyo Drift fans. I don't get it. Entertaining opening scene. This is my likes now. The chase scene was entertaining. The music, likable characters. The action was great. Police precinct was entertaining. The race was entertaining. Meeting with the criminals. The mission, entertaining race. The action was entertaining. I guess the action is what really sold me the movie, because like it's most of my likes. And I will be honest, I don't have much more to say. So this one is a 7 out of 10 for me. What about you?
Ooh, so you're going a lot higher on this one. So I think we forgot to mention a little bit of the production, just that, again, this was directed by Justin Lin, so it is the same director who directed the previous one, Tokyo Drift. And then he does kind of helm the majority of them. But yeah, I agree with you on the action on this. Again, I think he did kind of bring more of a realism than we had in a couple of the other ones to the street racing. I do like the way that a lot of that is shot. So yeah, I do think there are improvements here. But you're going 7. I think I like it more than the other ones. I don't know if it feels like a 7 to me. I'll go 6.9, because that's feels better than a 7 to me. But I like it way more than the others. We're starting to get to the fun part. So yeah. And it looks like for IMDb they gave it 6.5. So they're kind of in that same, but you were a little bit more generous than the people on this one.
And I will also say this, keep in mind, my 7 means average. Like for most people that means good. Good is 7.5, because there's a huge gap between like 7 and 7.5 for me. So I'd say like this movie is average. Like my 7 is probably like other people's 6 or 5. Because I'm very strict, like I'm very methodic on how I grade stuff. So 7 is average, because you kind of get the point. You passed the grade, and you kind of understood enough to be above that passing grade, if you know what I mean. That's why you're average. So yeah, I guess the next topic, which will be the last, because Cole needed to go earlier, Ash versus
I wanted to hear his opinion on
Evil
this.
Dead Season 1.
Awesome. Ash versus Evil Dead Season 1. So are you very familiar with the film predecessors, the Evil Dead series?
We covered them all, and I will be honest, I dislike pretty much every movie in that franchise. But like the last one they did, like that was Evil Dead
Including
Rise.
1, 2, and 3.
Yeah. Like Evil Dead.
Every part of it?
Yeah, like Evil Dead Rise
Wow.
was the worst of the worst. That's like some of the worst movie ever made. Evil Dead Rise. Um, my favorite was one of the recent one. I can't remember which one. Like I think that was like the one where the girl is brought back to life by the end. It's like they kind of tried to do some kind of reboot or restart or something. Like that was like
I
2012
believe that
or
was just called Evil Dead.
yeah, maybe that was it. But I know one of the more recent one is the one I like the most, but even there I thought that was like average at best. So I will start by saying that we planned in the past on covering Ash versus Evil Dead because we wanted to have like Joker Corner on stream, but he's been occupied, so we were like, okay, let's push down the can. And I had seen the first four-ish episode to be ready for that stream, but that stream never happened, so we just kind of pushed down the can to this week. So this week I decided let's rewatch the entire thing. And even on my first watch, I was surprised. I actually liked it a lot. And this is coming from someone that didn't like the originals.
Groovy.
Uh,
I
so
think that's awesome, man. That's why I was asking if you liked the originals, because this very much feels like it is actually like the spiritual successor. This would be number 4, if you will. Well, either number 3 or number 4, depending on which timeline you're going with. But yeah, awesome to hear that you liked it.
yeah, so I will let you start on that. What did you think
Um,
of Ash versus Evil Dead first season?
So I absolutely loved it, but I am kind of a stan for the series, if you will. I absolutely love the original 3. The Sam Raimi ones are just amazing. I love Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness. Each film kind of has its own tone in this weird way. One was like just this like kind of horror fest. 2 was really dark, but like over the top gruesome in like the greatest way. It was really dark, but it had comedic beats. And then 3 just went completely the route of comedy. Like yeah, it's got like a dusting of some horror aspects in there, but it's just a straight up comedy. And I think what this series does is it marries kind of the tone from 2 and 3 and perfectly gets that. Like it is very much a comedy, but it goes dark and really dark. And it is very much horror comedy, but that horror kind of takes that driver's seat, if you will. Where in 3 it was definitely the comedy. I think just the effects in this are amazing. They're still using a lot of practical, but the ways that they do the digital in here, it's not horrible. It works because Evil Dead is known for those really horrible, cheesy effects. And it just kind of adds to it that, like, yeah, of course you'd kind of progress to digital, but still where it counts, they're doing a lot of practical effects on this. But I am just a huge fan of this series. It really is kind of the spiritual successor to 3. The one problem is they couldn't license anything from Army of Darkness. So, like, instead of S Mart, I believe he's in Value Mart, I believe is the name of this. And then there's a few other things that they can't quite reference. But the Ash that he's playing, it is his natural progression from 3 to this. You just would believe that he is just trying to get laid, so he would actually read from the Necronomicon and do it incorrectly. I don't know. I really like it. I really like where they went with this, and I think they knew that, you know, this character is great, but to do 10 straight hours with him would be a little bit over the top, so we do need kind of some characters for him to play off. I do think they did really good with the choice, both Paco and now I can't remember her name, or sorry, Pablo, and now I can't remember Kelly was the other character's name. I really, really loved both of those characters. And then even Lucy Lawless. It was kind of interesting, you know, seeing her come back in. I thought she looked amazing, like better than she did as Xena, even. And the turn that this character takes is quite fun as well. But I think they just hit the tone spot on, and just the gore is over the top in the best way. And just this is peak Bruce Campbell. I'm so glad that we got this, and yeah, I think this is my favorite of the 3 seasons in this series. But yeah, it just they knew where they were going, and I really wish it wasn't on Stars. I wish it went to Netflix or any other station. I think they would have gotten more eyes on this. It would have been much bigger. But yeah, I really like the kind of the toned down nature of season 1 as well. They had kind of a fixed budget, where later they're able to go a little bit bigger because they have more of a budget. But just everything about this, they just nailed everything that I wanted in this successor to 3, if you will. We'd already gotten the Evil Dead kind of remake, kind of reimagining, if you will, and that just it works for a horror film, but it just doesn't feel like the Evil Dead to me. Where this did, they hit everything correct. And that first episode that's directed by Sam Raimi, I think it's the only one that is an hour long. Everything else is a half hour. That episode is just like amazing. Not that the other directors are bad or anything like that, but just Sam Raimi has a way about him, and like the way that they keep doing these certain angles and those Raimi shots, it is just, it's perfect. I absolutely love this. I think it is just what all the fans were asking for, and I think it's the perfect send off for this character. So yeah, I really like this season.
I am feeling you 100%. And I will say this again. Last time I tried getting into it, I really liked it, and the only reason why I stopped watching it's because it was no longer in the planning, but I was excited to get back into it. When I decided to re-watch from zero, I liked the experience, and probably I liked it even more than the first time. I can't exactly remember the notes I had, but I liked it. So I think the runtime of every episode was perfect. I feel like you cannot really make a show like that last 10 hours. It just doesn't have the material. So making every episode half an hour was like perfect. And it's coming from someone that watches a lot of shows. I'm a big fan. Like, I'd rather watch a season of a TV show than a movie, to give you an idea. So I thought the runtime was just perfect. That's the first thing, and the second thing, the humor was on point, and the characterization of Ash was amazing because it was dumb, it was a fool, and because of that trap, well, a lot of bad shit happens, and that was
Yeah,
the most
Bruce Campbell
entertaining
just has
part.
that character down. Bruce Campbell is Ash Williams. He is just amazing. Sorry to interrupt.
But that's where it works because the character is like that, and most of my issues in the movies that I didn't feel like was there in the show is people and characters, they do stupid shit for the plot to happen, and it doesn't make any sense, and characters are just caricature and stuff. But in this show, like the girl, I can't remember her name, but she has charisma and she's an amazing character. But the girl and the guy that follow Ash everywhere, they are really cool, and they are the voice of reason. They keep the thing grounded, and this is something we didn't add in the movies. That's why I value this TV show so much more. Now, there's a lot of praise, right? I got one issue, and it's like in many episodes, many instances, plot armor. So plot armor bothered me a lot. So these characters get flipped around everywhere by super strength. They don't pass out, they don't die from it. They just walk in unscathed. And this bothers me. And this is the kind of stuff I point out in pretty much every TV shows and movies. So it's not just because it's Ash versus Evil Dead.
He's not unscathed though. He lost a hand to the evil.
But yeah, like, people just have too much plot armor there, and this got on my nerve. Like, a lot. Um, anyhow, don't know why I cough so much right now. But I
Not
don't have
to
much.
give anything away, but they do kind of. I mean, Ash always kind of had some plot armor. Like it's pretty impossible that he'd get through a lot of the situations that he does. But yeah, they do take away some of that going forward. So hopefully you'll like it a little bit more. But I hear what you're saying.
But again, this is my only issue, and I enjoyed it. That was a great show. That was one of the best season we covered. I gave this entire season a 9.7 out of 10, and this is the best 9.7 out of 10 we had. What about you?
Damn. Wow. You kind of surprised me with some of the plot contrivances and like the plot armor that they have that you'd give it a 9.7. Wow. So I guess I'm going to be a little bit more of a jerk than you. I think there's some areas that could have been improved, but I think a lot of this is just like damn near perfect for me. So I'd give it a 9.5. I don't think it's quite perfect, but it is damn close. I think there was a little bit where they tried like some social commentary with like kind of the militia thing. I don't know. I feel like that could have been tightened up a little bit. I feel like the season might have been better without that. But yeah, almost everything else in there is just like perfect for me. So yeah, I'd go 9.5, and I'm excited to revisit season 2. Yeah, I remember it not being as positive in my mind as season 1, but I don't know. I could be wrong. So I'm kind of excited to see season 2. And then it looks like we were both a little bit more generous than the average public. Out of 79,000 votes, it looks like it gets 8.4 on IMDb. So it's still very highly rated, but they weren't in the 9s like us.
And again, I will repeat myself. I shout out stupidity when there is with characters and plot convenience and contrivance, but here Ash and the militia were like the only really stupid characters. Like the cops, they made sense. The love interest, she made sense. And the two sidekick were basically making sense. They were the voice of reason. And it's really like Ash and the militia that were really stupid. And it exists. People that are that dumb, they exist. And it's fine. When it's wrong, it's when your entire cast is like that, when you only depict that, when you only satire that so heavily that it's no longer believable, and it's just create that disconnect that forces you to just suspend disbelief to follow what's going on, if you know what I mean. In this specific case, I had no disconnect whatsoever. That's why I highly praise it, despite having lots of potential issues I may have with it. Plot armor is really what bothered me the most. Like, yeah, that's the biggest issue with
I can
this
see that
entire
for
season.
sure. That might still kind of come up. It's Ash Williams. He is somewhat invincible, but fair enough.
Well, that was a unique stream. I really liked it despite being sick. I'm glad Outgrave came in. And we got some kind of Uno going on. Usually I always end streams with Cole, but now I end it with you. That's like Uno time, you know? That's a funny one.
Technically, I saw everything today, so that's a first as well. Good times.
Yeah. So if you ever get a chance to like get into Dark Matter first season before Thursday, like I don't expect you, but if you do so, like that could be funny. Anyhow, I had a blast and I need some rest. I need to eat. Have a great day, Gray, and take care, man.
All right, you too, man. It was awesome talking to you. And
Yeah.
yeah, enjoy.